Well, sorry about that technical issue that took us off air just as we were about to interview Brendan Roberts from Family Life International. We'll resume that interview now. Family Life International is an organisation against euthanasia. Brendan, thanks for joining me and keeping waiting for us while we fix that problem.
My pleasure.
As we have we're talking about, 85% of New Zealanders support the idea of assisted suicide.
Yes.
Are you surprised by that result?
I'm surprised in the aspect that they're supporting suicide, because as a society we're one of the worst cases in the world for a suicide, and I think it's more we should be providing care rather than giving them solutions for suicide. So not solutions of actually taking someone's life, but how do we care for these people?
Do you think people understand euthanasia or what the concept of euthanasia is?
Absolutely not, and that's what's very sad. We can take different examples. For example, this gentleman, Sean, that was just featured now, it was about administering a lethal dose of morphine. Now, morphine itself, it's not wrong to administer to someone, but if you have the intention of giving someone an overdose, that is, in effect, taking their life, which is totally different from administering a drug to alleviate their suffering. Now, Dr. Robert Twycross, he's from the Oxford University, and he said that the hospice doctors, they estimate that about 95% of terminally ill patients can be cared for a terminally ill disease. Their pain can be alleviated, and it's only 5% of cases where it can't be.
But this proposal has 3 levels of protection. Can you explain what they are and what do you think is wrong with that, or what problems you see?
Yeah, those 3 levels of protection you're looking at, if it's similar to the Netherlands, is that you're looking, it's got to be voluntary, it's got to be like a doctor authorising it, and it's got to be repeatedly asked for. Now, there's problems with that, because what happens with the patients been asking for it and then they've lost all functions of communication, and that might be simply that they're in a coma. Now, there are examples. For example, there's a Zach Dunlop in 2008. He's a 21-year-old American, and he was in a coma. Doctors wanted to harvest his organs, because they're going to be best when they're fresh. So while he's still alive, he's actually brain dead as such, and yet 2 of his sisters were nurses, and they didn't like this idea. So what they did was they poked his feet with a knife, and they also dug fingernails under his nails and actually provoked a response which proved he actually had brain capacity and could tell what was happening. Now, what was absolutely amazing was when he fully recovered, he actually could recount the doctors discussing harvesting his organs, which is very scary.
There are going to be, I guess, those extraordinary stories, but wouldn't it be better in some ways to have maybe a law change or guidance that makes things better, I guess, especially around that fine line of euthanasia and assisted suicide?
No, because this isn't just a religious issue, because if you ask Google and you look up examples of, there's pagans for life and atheists for life that respect life from conception to natural death. And so, no, there's also the concept of the slippery slope, and we look at the Netherlands. It's not only voluntary euthanasia that's happening, but we've got examples where you've got involuntary euthanasia, including of infants, so it's including the disabled as well, which is very, very scary. And that's also happening in New Zealand with this, the new antenatal screening program that's happening, and you're looking at, sadly, 80 to 90% of those with Down syndrome being encouraged to be aborted. And what's also really sad is that it's only like 4 or 5% of those that actually come out that are tested to be Down syndrome actually are Down syndrome. So there's it's very scary stuff.
These issues, though, with euthanasia, I mean, they crop up in the media quite a bit, these kinds of stories.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be safer and easier to police, I guess, out in the open rather than behind closed doors?
No, because once again, you're coming back to that slippery slope discussion, because One, you're saying, hey, let's legalise killing, because that's what it is. Like, taking off life support system is not euthanasia. Taking off antibiotics isn't against euthanasia. So when we're for life, and you could say anti-euthanasia, we're not against prolonging someone's suffering as such, but we're about alleviating it naturally and also letting nature take its course rather than playing God, for instance.
So you don't believe it's the answer for New Zealand?
Absolutely not.
Great. Thanks very much for your time, Brendan. Thanks for putting up with our delay again. It's Brendan Roberts from Family Life International. A teenage boy is critically injured with burns to